Afternoon, YouTube. It is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle Happy Medium, and in this particular video, our topic up for discussion today, we're going to look at symbol directory or dictionary and how you can enhance that symbols, which is a dictionary, which is knowledge within your mind, in order to be able to work with the spirit world. Many people ask me this question, and many people want to understand more about what it is that the symbols, the images, the things that are given to you from the spirit world or from your psychic ability, and how you can enhance them or adapt them in order to fit them into either your psychic ability or your mediumistic ability. For me personally, when I first started out, I was very much a big clairvoyant medium. I've seen the spirit world incredibly well, and I do still from time to time, depending on where my mind's at. But when I first started out, the spirit world very much started with me with pictures, images, particular items, these types of things, in order to start building my knowledge base set. And I am going to put a video in the link for you to understand what I mean by a spiritual toolbox. And I talk about spiritual toolbox as a canny bit. Spiritual toolboxes is your mind. The spirit world uses your memories, the things that you've done within your life, in order to be able to work with the spirit world in some capacity. The reason being is because you then have some understanding. If you meet most mediums or psychics or people who work in some capacity for the spirit world will have had quite a bit of involvement of different life experiences within their life. Why? Because you will need that knowledge base set. And the reason being is because you can't put your hand out in friendship to your fellow man if you've not been through that experience yourself. So, or being around somebody who's been through that similar sort of experience in order to understand and get the knowledge base. So when I talk about symbols and symbol directories or dictionaries or whatever it is that you would like to put your stamp around it, when I first started out, the spirit world started with a lot of symbols. So for example, daffodils told me that I was working with somebody with cancer. Then I would see a bit, when I see bubbles when I'm working, like for example, I was at Monk Wearmouth on Saturday night, which was last night. And in there was a gentleman, in fact it wasn't a gentleman, it was a lady actually stepped forward where the lady had drowned to death. And I always see bubbles every time, even now. And I've been, 3 years privately demonstrating or demoing on a floor, and 5 year working professionally for the spirit world. I still see them bubbles. It's as if that's the memories that I've put inside my mind in order so that I know that when that communicate or that particular condition or situation comes forward, I know that that's the kind of particular individual that I'm working with there. Another one I sometimes get is if you see coal, you've got a miner working with you, somebody who had some connection to coal. So there's always lots of different abbreviations to the connections of symbols. The problem with the symbols is they're your symbols. They're not my symbols, they're yours. A lot of people will interpret daffodils differently. Some people might interpret daffodils as March and April. Some people might interpret bubbles as, a lung condition, COPD, lung cancer, whatever it may be. Some people may see coal and think, oh, well, they had a coal fire. So everybody's interpretation of a particular symbol is different. And when people say to me, can you give us some idea of what a spiritual directory or a spiritual dictionary would be, Danielle? I have to be very honest with you. I can't tell you what your symbols mean to you. Why? Because it's not me who's working with the spirit world. It's you. It's you that's working with them loved ones, your team, whatever it may be. So, for example, my symbols are completely different probably to yours. My advice to you is when you're working with symbols or you're seeing symbols on a regular basis, watch what it is that you're doing when you're doing the readings. What is it that's going on at that time? When you realise that when you get that symbol and it keeps being repeated when you're doing your readings, then they're trying to add that knowledge to your mind. They're trying to imprint that upon your memory so that when you do a demonstration or sitting somewhere else, you don't have to work so hard for it because it's already in your mind. You can pull it forward. I'll give you an example. I was on a demonstration last night, like I say, in Monk Wearmouth, and I've only ever seen this once before. It's evidence-based. I was on a private sitting maybe about just before Christmas, and there was a lady in there. I was doing a private sitting for her father was a grave digger, and in that particular piece of evidence to her father come a memory of a situation or a conversation that had been had between him and his daughter. And many years ago, they couldn't afford to put everybody in a single grave like they can now. So what they used to do is the children who were born asleep, or the children who didn't last here on the earth plane, they used to take them around to the grave digger's yard, the man who digged the graves for the yards, obviously. And then they would put the children in with other people. And that evidence come through again last night, and I've only ever seen that twice in all the time I've been demonstrating, which is in the last 5 years. But because I'd already had that memory, and because that memory was already within my mind, because I'd done the private sitting, the same information, it wasn't the same information, but it was similar. Does that make sense? There was differences too last night's to the private sit, but there was similarities. And this is what symbols do, or this is what the knowledge-based tool set within your mind will do for you. It will place stuff within your mind so that you can then refer back to it when you're working with the spirit world on a regular basis. Best way to do this? Again, practice. But you can also do this with your guides as well. So for example, here's the one I can give you. So when I used to work with my guide when I first started out, Chief is what you call my fella, I used to play a game called Guess Who, which is a bit like the flip game, you know, that we have here to the earth. But instead of me seeing faces, I used to see images and symbols, and he would ask me what it is I'd saw, and sometimes I'd get it right and sometimes I would not. And every time I used to add the symbols to my mind, or I would add the images to my mind. He was adding the knowledge for me, so that when I was working, doing private sittings, whatever it may be, that knowledge was already impressed upon my mind. So I knew, so for example, I don't know, he'd show me a pencil, but the pencil was upside down. It means that I was working with a gentleman who was left-handed. When it's the right way up, I'm working with somebody who is right-handed, because I see writing and stuff sometimes when I'm demonstrating. So he impressed that upon my mind, so I know that when I see a pencil that's upside down, I'm working with a gentleman or a woman who is left-handed. And this is the kinds of things you can do with your guides. What people forget here is the spirit world's incredibly intelligent. They're really knowledgeable. They know, they've been doing messages since before the day and a time. You know, this is pussy with a kitten, you know what I mean? They're not stupid people. They know how to get evidence over. They know how to press that stuff upon your mind so that it's built into your knowledge base set. People don't use their guides enough in order to train with them. They want these guides to be there to do this and to do that, but yet you don't want to take the knowledge from them. It is one of the best things that you can do in order so that you can get the best possible evidence, is to work with your guides. Now, if you don't know who they are, I will put an end card in for a connection for guides and a link for looking for your guides and how to find guides on lots of different ranges, because I find many mediums who are trained here in the UK are, you know, working very multifaceted different ways. There's no two mediums working the same way as far as I'm concerned. And I promote massively on the channel that, you know, just because you don't see the spirit world doesn't mean to say that you're not a medium. It doesn't mean to say that you haven't got an ability. It just means that your abilities are a little different. So you can work extensively well with your guides and learn vast amounts of knowledge, plus also learning the trust and also the confidence to work with spirit, which is a major problem with lots of mediums that I come across, because they've either had bad teaching, they've had mediums pulling at them, they've had somebody saying something about it, or whatever it may be. And I was one of them mediums who was incredibly picked upon 2 years ago because of my mediumship. So I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and I know what it's like to be out there in the industry and have nowhere to go and no one to talk to. And I had to go to the spirit world and work with my people diligently in order to get myself up and back on my feet. So work with the spirit world, work with your guides. They will give you everything you need, with connections to spiritual toolboxes, directories, or dictionaries. And remember, your symbols are yours. They're not mine. They'll never be, you know, somebody else's spirit teams. They're yours, because that's what you need in order to get your messages over there. So I hope that this helps a fair few of you out there, and I hope it helps you to understand a little bit more. Remember, your mediumship is yours. It will always be yours. I've been Danielle, better known as Danielle the Happy Medium. I'm going home now over there for my tea because I'm absolutely starving. And then I will see you all later in the week. I have got a live Q&A Facebook on Tuesday evening if you want to join us. Hopefully I'll see you all there if you want to come and join us. Alright, bye for now.